Hi, everyone. It is National Infertility Awareness Week. And on today's episode, we are speaking with Lindsey, mom to Grant and Beckham and founder of the Everyone Deserves a Family Incorporated. After years of struggle to grow their family through various medical treatments, Matt and Lindsey turned to adoption and eventually became parents to their beautiful son, Grant. But their journey did not end there, and they chose to move forward in the surrogacy process. And in 2021, their beautiful son Beckham was born. While this family building story has a happy ending, it did come with a huge price tag, and that ultimately added up to around $200,000. Knowing that this just isn't something that is financially possible for all, Lindsey did not want finances to be what stopped someone from becoming a parent, and thus founded Everyone Deserves a Family Grant, which awards funds to families that are seeking to build their families through infertility treatments, adoption, and surrogacy. Now, different grants do work in different ways, and this grant is reserved for families that are in Florida. But with that said, in our show notes, you will find a list of different grant options that Resolve has provided, as well as another list from Men Having Babies that gives assistance to other grant options. If you know of more, please feel free to comment those so we can help spread the word and others can benefit and make this experience more financially possible. Please enjoy listening to Lindsey and her beautiful story. Me, you, and who? Who knew it would take more than two people to have a baby? In a world where infertility is no longer a taboo topic, this podcast will take you through all the different aspects of surrogacy and egg donation through the lens of many who walk this journey in different ways. My name is Whitney Hall, and I am a two-time surrogate, now turned surrogacy coordinator for Egg Donor and Surrogate Solutions, the very agency I used when I chose to carry for two amazing families. With this podcast, it is our goal to help guide and support you as you learn about what it takes to grow a family in an alternative way, as well as hear inspiring and beautiful stories of how this path has changed lives forever. We can't wait for you to hear about just one more way happy families are created every day. Hi, Lindsey. I'm so glad you're here. So, Lindsey, you are the founder of Everyone Deserves a Family Incorporated, where your mission is to raise awareness and provide financial assistance to those who are seeking infertility treatments, adoption, surrogacy, just that financial aspect that not everybody loves to talk about, but is just the reality of, what it is to build your family in this way. But before we get to there, you had your own journey of building your family, and I would love to just hear a little bit more about that story. How did this journey even start for you?
Whitney, I think it's such an eye opener when you're going through it and you talk to others that have their own stories too. And, after hearing some horror stories, I
Mm-hmm.
don't feel like we even got skimmed the surface of what other people go through. But our story was that we knew we could potentially have infertility problems when we got married. So shortly after we were
Mm.
married in 2015, we wanted to start a family right away. My husband and I were both a little bit older when we met. And so we went through the reproductive doctor, we got all the testing, we did everything. They ended up clearing me because I previous was diagnosed with PCOS.
Sure.
And they said, "Oh
Sure.
no, you're fine, but your husband
Yep.
has something." So we went through and talk about no one wants to talk about it when they turn and look at your husband and say, "Oh, well, hey, we've got to work on you now," which is so uncomfortable. So we went through 6 months of like the urologist, and then
Oh,
we
yeah.
tried. Uh,
Sure.
oh yeah, there's a lot that's not talked about, and that's just one of them. So we thought we were all good, and then we went through about 7 rounds of um, intrauterine insemination, which is the IUI, and we
Mm-hmm.
kept
Mm-hmm.
getting chemical pregnancies. So, every time it's so devastating. And
Mm.
finally, they said, "We want you to do the IVF." So we did the IVF. And the same thing kept happening. I was just
Mhm.
getting the chemical pregnancies. And then I even got pregnant naturally once on my own, but it would only last for 48 to 72 hours.
Wow.
So after we did
Oh
IVF,
gosh.
oh, I know. And after we did IVF, we decided after it was failed that I just remember we went through so much heartbreak together, and we went through the whole IVF. We did the transfer, and it wasn't even chemical; it just didn't work. And I was literally like, the doctor called
Mm,
me. It was like Friday. I don't even know what time, and um, she's like, "I'm sorry," and I just hit the ground. I mean, I completely collapsed, and I was just in this really
mm.
dark.
Oh,
And
Lindsay.
my husband, I tried to call him. Thank you. And my husband, I tried to, when you're so upset, you call to get the words out and you just couldn't. I couldn't even say anything. So he came home right away
Mhm,
because he
mhm.
worked really close. Just we laid on the ground together, and I felt like I just couldn't even get off the ground. And there's so many women that are like that. And he looked at me and he said, "You know what? We just want to be a mommy and daddy, so let's adopt." And I was like, right then, I was like, couldn't get my head around it, but it was so
Yeah.
profound to me, because, when you're in the middle of all this and you just want to be a mommy and daddy, that's all you want to do. You go through
Yeah.
so much heartbreak. There's so many trial and errors to what we go through with fertility. And it's a recipe for just like the highs of highs and lows of lows. And it's an emotional roller coaster. So, I always say, like, when I'm describing my story and how we got to where we are, there's so many women that have exhausted all their financial capabilities at that time. They went through IVF, they did all this, um, IUIs and testing, and they get there, and then they're kind of left
Yeah.
empty-handed, and they're repaying second mortgages, borrowing from friends and families. They save for years. It's
Mm,
just, and I always thought, man, I'm so lucky that I was able to have the means to take the next step when there's so many families
mm.
that just are stopped there. So that's just kind of a side swipe on how we started, which I'm sure we'll get more into. But long story
Yeah.
short, and that was in January of 2018. April 2018, we started our adoption journey through an agency who did
Mm.
newborn uh, national adoption. So they told us the average wait time was 2 years. So we were like, okay, we had to go through the whole marketing process, and
Wow.
we did our
Oh
video
my gosh.
pamphlet and everything. And they put us on a website for all the adopted mothers to look at and decide which family they wanted to choose. So, we were like, okay, we can finally
Mhm.
breathe a little easier. We're going to be a mommy and daddy, even if it takes 2 years. Like, we just have faith in this. So, um, 2 weeks after we went live on the adoption website, we got a phone call, and it was again Friday at 3 o'clock. We finally got the good news. A birth mom chose us, and we became instantaneous mommy and daddies. But we had to wire the $40,000. Um, the same day before 5 o'clock, it was 3 o'clock. We had a stack of FedEx papers that I know we had to do for, just legalities and so
Sure,
forth.
absolutely. Yeah.
But again, I mean, thankfully we had those funds, and
Mhm.
thankfully we were able to say yes to the adoption opportunity. Thankfully
Yeah.
we had the means to become mommy and daddy. So we didn't even think twice about it, though. We would have like
Yeah.
sold our house, sold our car, sold our dog. If no, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
Probably maybe not the dog, but um
Maybe not the dog. House, sure, but dog, nah.
yeah, maybe we'll keep him. So yeah, we drove, right? We did all of our to-dos. We wired the money, we
Yeah.
went to FedEx, we overnighted it, and we were on our way with, a 6-hour drive. And I remember my husband and I we were in shock, right? I mean,
Sure.
here we are. We had no baby supplies, nothing at all, not even diapers.
Well,
We
no,
had,
you had to cheat your weight. Why would you have baby supplies, let alone like
yeah,
$40,000 lying around? Like, yeah.
right. Absolutely. So, we didn't speak hardly a word to each other other than I said, I said, can I name him Gavin? And he goes, yeah. So, I mean, it was so incredible. And if you visit our website, you'll see really awesome little pictures of when we met Gavin for the first time.
Yeah.
He was 4 pounds, tiny as can be.
Little
But
tiny.
he grew so fast with us. So, we're just so grateful. And then, obviously the pressure was off of us
Yeah,
to have kids then, right? We're mommy and
absolutely.
daddy.
Yeah.
And, just this huge weight was lifted in our lives. I mean, we didn't
Mm,
realize how much it was impacting every aspect of our lives, just kind of going down this dark tunnel, wanting to be, I mean, it's your whole focus, right? You think about what
absolutely.
you eat, you think about how much you're sleeping, you think about, you know, should I stay up late to go here? No, I should probably get some rest. So it affects relationships with friends. It affects relationships with
Mm,
families. It affects relationships with yourself. And, I don't think people give themselves enough credit with how much we carry going through this process. So
sure.
on top of it's financially, emotionally, physically draining. So when
Yeah,
that lifted
absolutely.
up, we were like, hey, we've got 2 embryos left. Let's go again. Long story short, we did additional testing on my uterine lining, and they just diagnosed me with repeated implantation failure, with really the cause not being known. I just could never carry a pregnancy
Yeah.
beyond two to 4 days. So,
Mm,
with that being said, we found surrogate solutions, egg donor solutions.
yes.
Yeah, and they were
Yes.
incredible. They matched us again within, it was like a 2 week period of us applying.
Look at you
And
guys.
I know. Well, it's funny, those things that like what's meant to be will be. And that's exactly what happened on our whole journey of
Yeah.
parenthood. And we were matched with a surrogate out of Palm Coast, which is only about an hour and a half from Orlando. And
Mm,
it was incredible. She was awesome. The first transfer didn't take, but the
mm-hmm.
second, which was our last embryo, was a little boy,
Yeah.
and he took, and the pregnancy was awesome. Everything was perfect. And in May of 2021, we welcomed Beckham to this world,
Mm,
who was just, it was so incredible. Number one, um, my mother, rest her soul, she passed away
oh,
and
I'm so
in
sorry.
2019. So she never got to meet Beckham. She got to meet Gavin.
Mm,
But the irony of this was, out of all the surrogates we could be matched with, we were matched with our wonderful surrogate in Palm Coast, and she used an OB that was in St. Augustine. And Beckham ended up being born at the same hospital my mother did, where she
stop.
was born. Yes, it was Flagler
Oh, what
Hospital.
just a special way for her to be a part of that in such a just crazy way.
Yeah,
Oh my
crazy way.
gosh.
It was, I mean, just the stars were all in line. And
Mm,
but and then Beckham and Gavin are now the best of friends,
of
and
course.
we're just they are give us a run for our money. I
Good.
think.
Good. They need to be thick as thieves like that. I like that.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's just we have such an incredible story. We're so thankful
Yes.
every single day that we get to be a mommy and daddy to these two beautiful, amazing little boys. Um, that God designed really truly in a very creative way that was very unconventional for us, which
Mm,
unfortunately cost us a lot of money. When you put
yeah.
it all together, it was almost $200,000 completely out of
Ugh.
pocket. And again, going through and looking at what it cost us, I just knew not a lot of people could afford that. And
Yeah.
and there's really no financial assistance out there. So, if you're lucky, your insurance can cover some of it, but a lot of the times it doesn't. And it's
Well,
just
and
completely unfortunate.
100%. And it's interesting because you brought up, your path to even get to adoption and ultimately surrogacy. You had everything else in between, all of those IUIs, your own personal IVFs. You're thinking about just the freezing of your embryos and the
Yeah.
cost of that, all of those little things throughout that whole process that adds up. You end up like doing the adoption route. I don't think a lot of people think about the cost that comes to the adoption process as well. Was that surprising to you at all?
It wasn't, because I think, being an agency yourselves, I think you very much educate
Mm-hmm.
before you
Mm-hmm.
sign any contracts on what you're
Absolutely.
expecting.
Absolutely.
You do have to have a certain amount of funds, but it was not a surprise. But there's obviously a range too that it could cost. Um,
Sure.
it was a surprise. It came very quickly.
Yeah, that was the part, right? That's the
Yeah.
part. Sure. So then you have all of those costs, and then now, you moved forward with surrogacy, and that's another cost. And then you
Yeah.
said, again, she had a failed transfer. So now you're doing a whole nother IVF. And I mean, just all of those things, when you take a look at, you added it up of $200,000. I mean, I don't think I even have I don't have the ability to even think about what that type of money even looks
Yeah.
like. And let alone you're just supposed to keep living your life, right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
I mean, it adds up and it makes it just nearly impossible for so many to try and pursue, their family in this way.
Yeah.
So, what would you say, after going through everything that you went through, you have your sweet, beautiful family. How did you go from everything that you went to now where you're continuing to help families
Yeah.
in this financial way? Tell me about that.
Well, number one, I think the drive was honestly with that sticker shock, what I shared with you, when it was like,
Yeah.
okay, well, a birth mother chose you, but you have to wire the money. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm so grateful and thankful I have this money in my bank account. But what happens about those that don't? And that
Mm-hmm.
was like the first seed in my head that I said, I have to do something to help others.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm fortunate enough, I have to do something eventually to help others. That was my first drive. And my second drive was really fully, that two other women blessed me with my children. I
Mm.
mean, really, I had, I say they're birth mother angels, tummy mommies are what we
Mm.
call them, because they both know tummy
Yes.
mommies. And,
Yes.
because of two women, I'm able to be a mommy. And so I want to help the
Mm.
next in line become a mommy any way I can. And so after Beckham was like two, I was like, okay, now's the time. I don't know how I'm going to do this. My hands are full with my boys,
Yes.
but I just, sometimes you take a leap of faith, and I just said, let's
Yeah.
start it. I picked a name. Everyone deserves a family. I
Mm.
had everything drawn up, and we pulled off last year. We were able to pull off our first annual fundraiser in October at a local brewery. We had a great turnout of about 50 people, plus online donations. We were able to raise
Amazing.
like $10,000.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, and then we had a donor match that. So we raised over $20,000 last year in a very
Mm.
short amount of time. And we opened up our grant application process in September, and that was good through November 15th. So it was a long period of spreading the
Yeah.
word, especially since we're so new. And we had a handful of applications, And, all of which, again, I mean, my story doesn't even compare to theirs. There's still so many people that have been through so much that are not mommy and daddies.
Mm.
But they need the financial assistance. So we were able to grant 4 families
Mm.
$21,000 total, spread out between those in different ways that we saw necessary. So, we did something, and hopefully this year we'll be able to do a lot more. And it's just really spreading the word since we're so new.
Yeah.
And, that's where we are. It's kind of all a leap of faith and just helping the next in line and doing what's right.
I love that. Oh, I love that so
Thank
much.
you.
And congratulations to you guys having such a successful first year. And good
Thank
luck
you.
to those 4 families.
Yes.
So let me ask you this. So for those who want to donate, we're gonna put the link in the show notes, but where would they go if they wanted to donate online?
So it's online donations on our website as well. You can just
Yeah.
hit the donation box. You could do PayPal or any major credit card. If you want to mail in a check, there's an address on there to mail in a check. That would be awesome. And then our grant information is also posted on there. It's going to be the same application season. So we'll open it September 1st through November 15th.
Okay. September
Again,
1st through November 15th, everyone.
yes. And I believe there is a place on the website that you can go register as reminders of when that's
Yeah.
going to be opening as well. Um, so, everybody just spread the word if you can. I know everyone has a friend of a friend or a sister or anybody that's going through, it seems like the infertility rate is getting higher and higher. So the more we
Yeah.
can kind of stick together and help out one another, the better.
I love that. What is the application process like? Are there any guidelines that anyone needs to be aware of?
Yes. So right now we have it. Unfortunately, we're only registered in the state of Florida, which I know this podcast goes out. If you're using any infertility clinic in Florida, we can wire that directly to the fertility clinic, but you have to be
Yeah.
a Florida resident. Collectively, your income can't be above $140,000.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be an established patient with either an agency or a clinic. So
Okay.
it can't be just that you think you're having fertility treatments. We really want to help kind of we we are very empathetic for those having fertility issues, but we're here to help kind of the people that have exhausted some of their reserves and they need help
Sure.
taking the next step in their journey. So
Yeah.
and then you just have to be a couple. You don't have to be married. But right now we're just doing couples, and that's the requirements. You have to show proof of, some of the residencies and your income and so forth.
Sure. Sure. Okay. No, that is fantastic. Do you guys have any events that are coming up as well? Another brewery, perhaps?
Yes, we will. We're going to do our annual event again in
Yay.
October. And so as soon as we finalize all those details, we will have that on the website. And then I would just say, just check back periodically on the website. We might do a fun little raffle and over the summer. Uh, we haven't quite figured out exactly yet. We're still new. We're still kind of bouncing around ideas. But
Sure.
anything
Yeah.
that we are, there is a spot on there again to register for additional information or for a waiting list or whatever. And we'll use that information to reach out for any fun things we do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And if for people to see that, they go to everyonedeservesafamilygrant.com, and we will have that link in the show notes as well so you can
Yes.
see that.
Grant,
So,
sorry, plural.
yes. Yeah,
Everyone
grants.
deserves a familygrants.com.
Grants.
Yes.
Everyone deserves a family grants with an S.com. And we will have
Yes.
that link
Okay,
in the
wonderful.
show notes as well. So let me ask you this, sitting in the seat that you're sitting, looking back on just your amazing, grand, ultimately beautiful journey, what piece of advice would you want to give to day one, Lindsey?
Just, keep going. And it's easier said than done. But don't
Mm.
get so bogged down and just I remember just being so focused on being wanting to be a mom, and everything else kind of like, was like dimmer around me. It was like this bright light. I was just like, I want to be a mom. I need to be a mom. And,
Mm.
I feel like memories and experiences and again, relationships, they can get dimmed down a little bit, and instead of, I felt like I should have balanced it. But the reality is, easier said than done. So,
Sure.
honestly, I wouldn't have changed a thing. I love that song, God Bless the Broken Road, that led me straight to you, because it truly is. And sometimes I look at these families that have these heartbreaking stories, and I'm like, you know what? I can't wait to talk to you in 5 or 10 years,
Mm.
because you're going to understand. And people said that to me and I didn't understand it, but you have to be patient and you have to keep going. You have to just, what's the next step? What's the next avenue? If you want to be a mommy and daddy, there's so many ways you could be a mommy and daddy. You have to figure out and listen to your heart and make that next step. And I think a lot of people that are on the surrogate solutions page, I mean, that's where they've been there, right?
Yeah.
Surrogacy is kind of like the top line of like, this is where this is like you're exhausting all possibilities here. And so
Mm.
I give major admiration to everyone that's watching it, because I know they've been through it all and
Mm.
they've made it happen. They're here. Okay, so just be
Yeah.
patient. You're gonna be matched with like the surrogate that you're supposed to be matched with. Like
Mm.
things are gonna fall into place like they should. And it's just not easy, but have faith.
Yes. Oh, I love that, Lindsay. And it's so wonderful that for that period of time where things were dim, you now get to be a bright light to others, and especially in just such a huge way with this grant that you have created. So I know I'm so grateful and happy for those four families. And I'm
Hmm.
so excited for everything that you guys are going to
Thank
just
you.
go forth and do as you keep moving forward. So my final question to you, and
Yes.
it's a fun one for
Okay.
anyone who knows me, they know that I have a very codependent relationship with coffee. And so I always love to ask, what filled your cup this morning? Literally or figuratively, what was the thing that filled your cup?
Oh my goodness. So I think you also need an outlet, and I love to run.
Yes.
It's
Oh, good for
like,
you. I admire runners. Good for
yeah,
y'all.
because there's a reason there, and like it just gets you going. And today on my run, as I'm preparing for, I have this podcast, and I kind of went back through on my run my journey myself,
Mm.
reflecting over, and I just said, gosh, life is so good, right? Like, sometimes
Mm.
you could just get so caught up in the details and what do I have to do today, and I was just like, I really have no complaints. I've got an amazing family and two incredible kids and
Yeah.
an amazing husband. And like, I mean, life is good. Like, no complaints. So that's what filled my cup. And I think sometimes we do have to, if we don't have a baby, but we have our fur babies, and we have a husband, or we have a supportive family, sometimes you have to go on that run or the walk or have a cup of coffee and say, you know what, my life is still not that bad. So,
I love that. I love that so much, Lindsay. Well, again, thank you so much for your time, especially amongst the craziness that I know that is
yes.
your gorgeous, beautiful, fulfilling, fantastic life that you have no complaints over. I love that. I love that so much. And again, everyone deserves a family grants with an S.com. We will
Yes.
have that link in the show note. And Lindsay, good luck to you and good luck to the grant and everything. And thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much for having me, Whitney, and spreading the word, because I just hope to grow and help more families that need to take the next step and bring their babies in their arms. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Me, You, and Who podcast. We appreciate your time and hope you enjoyed our discussion today. As we wrap, we would like to remind you of some of the ways to stay connected with us and be part of the Me, You, and Who podcast community. Firstly, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode and can stay up to date with our latest content. But that's not all. We also have an exciting YouTube channel where we share some bonus content, behind the scenes glimpses, and video versions of our episodes. Head over to your YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button there as well. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when the new episodes go live. For more exclusive updates, engaging discussions, and a chance to connect with fellow listeners, be sure to follow us on our social media accounts. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Egg Donor and at Surrogate Solutions. As a friendly reminder, the podcast is made possible by Egg Donor and Surrogate Solutions. If you're interested in creating a happy family, visit www.createahappyfamily.com to learn more information. Again, thank you for being part of the Me, You, and Who community. Your support means the world to us. Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and join us next time as we share journeys of creating happy families.